Captain Adrian Cole stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring at the swirl of colors beyond the starship's hull. The galaxy had a way of making humans feel small, but Adrian had always believed that even small beings could change big things. Today, however, he felt unusually uneasy. Lysara's orbiting city gleamed below, a mixture of crystal towers and floating platforms that reflected the light of the system's 3 suns. Diplomacy was supposed to be simple: trade talks, exchange of goods, polite gestures. But something about Lysara had always made him feel that the universe might have other plans. "Captain, sensors indicate life forms approaching the lower docking platform," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. Adrian turned, his eyes narrowing. The platform was supposed to be empty at this hour. Visitors were rare. Lysara's citizens were cautious about outsiders. He shrugged. "Let's see who thinks they can surprise us," he said, walking toward the docking bay with a measured stride. Humans had a natural confidence, the kind that came from learning to survive in a universe that did not care for weakness. Adrian's steps were confident, though inside he could feel his heart rate quicken. Something about this planet always made him alert. When he reached the docking bay, he saw her. She stood there with a presence that demanded attention, though she said nothing at first. Adrian's eyes widened, not because of her beauty, though she had that too, but because there was a familiarity in the way she carried herself, the way her gaze swept the platform like she owned every corner of it. She was taller than humans, her skin a soft lavender hue that shimmered under the artificial lights. Her hair cascaded like silver silk, moving slightly in the recycled air. But it was her eyes, golden and intelligent, that struck him. They held recognition, curiosity, and something deeper, something he could not yet understand. "Do you remember saving my life, human?" she asked, her voice soft, melodic, and careful, as though testing whether he would recognize her. Adrian blinked. He felt a strange mixture of shock and disbelief. He had been in many tight situations, many dangerous missions across star systems, but a moment like this, where a stranger claims that you saved them, was rare, and yet her tone carried weight, a history he could not ignore. I don't think he began, only to stop. He really didn't remember. Not in detail, at least. There were flashes of missions, blurs of distant stars, alarms ringing, cries for help, but nothing concrete. "I know," the princess said, a small, almost shy smile appearing on her face. "It has been many cycles since that day, but I never forgot the human who saved me. Even now I remember your face." Something in her words stirred a memory, a faint shadow of danger, a flash of courage, a decision that had saved a life. Adrian's mind raced. He had been part of a human crew on a covert mission far from any known system. They had been ambushed by pirates, organized, vicious, and utterly ruthless. And in that chaos there had been someone, a young alien princess caught in the crossfire. They had risked everything to ensure her survival. The memory came back in fragments like a puzzle slowly forming. The sound of explosions, the flash of a plasma beam, the small figure that needed him to act without hesitation. You are Princess Lysara," Adrian said finally, his voice steady despite the surprise. "I am," she replied. Her smile widened slightly. "And you are Captain Adrian Cole, the human who did not hesitate to save me when others would have walked away." Her words were gentle, but they carried the weight of gratitude and respect. Adrian took a step closer. The princess's presence was both commanding and delicate, like a force of nature contained in a single being. I don't remember all the details," he admitted. "It was a long time ago and a lot happened." "I know," she said softly, almost as if she understood. "But it does not matter. What matters is that I am here because of you. And now," her gaze sharpened slightly, the faintest edge of concern appearing. "Now I need your help again," Adrian frowned. He had learned over years of interstellar travel that when someone said they needed your help, it usually meant trouble. And trouble on Lysara was never simple. The planet was technologically advanced, politically complex, and fiercely independent. No human had ever been asked to intervene in its affairs before, at least not officially. "What kind of trouble?" he asked cautiously. She took a breath, her fingers brushing the edge of her cloak. "There is a faction within my planet, one that wishes to see Lysara fall to invaders. They have waited years hidden in the shadows, plotting and waiting. I have discovered their plan too late to stop it alone. But perhaps A human perspective, a human way of thinking can make a difference. Adrian studied her carefully. Humans had a way of solving problems that aliens often found unpredictable. They relied on intuition, courage, and improvisation, things that were difficult to predict and harder to defend against. He knew that if he agreed to help, he would be stepping into a world of alien politics, technology far beyond human understanding, and enemies who did not respect mercy. And yet, there was a pull, a sense that this was more than a mission. This was a chance to truly make a difference. "I'll help," he said finally. His voice was calm, but inside he felt a surge of purpose. "But you need to tell me everything. No secrets, no half-truths? I can't help if I don't know what we're facing." The princess nodded. "I will tell you everything. But first you must see for yourself what we are up against." She turned, her cloak flowing as she walked toward a sleek hovercraft waiting on the platform. Adrian followed, taking in the city around him. Lysera was breathtaking. Towers of crystal that reflected every light, bridges that floated in midair, and vehicles that moved without wheels or tracks. It was a world of innovation, of beauty, and of danger hidden beneath its surface. As they moved through the streets, the princess explained, "The faction is composed of those who believe Lysera should submit to the neighboring empire, to bow to their control in exchange for stability. But they are planning a violent takeover. They have already infiltrated key positions, and soon they will strike." Adrian listened carefully. His mind worked quickly, analyzing possibilities, anticipating threats, and imagining strategies. Humans had a way of seeing patterns that aliens sometimes missed, he thought, and in this there was hope. They arrived at the palace, a towering structure of shimmering crystal and advanced security systems. "This is where I live," she said quietly, "and this is where I must protect my people. But I cannot do it alone. Will you stay with me, Captain? Will you stand beside me when the time comes?" Adrian looked at her, at the determination in her eyes. He could see the weight of leadership she carried, the responsibility for a planet and its people. He could feel the danger, the inevitability of conflict, and yet he also felt something else, a spark of trust, a bond that transcended species and star systems. "I'll stand with you," he said, "and we'll face whatever comes together." The princess smiled, a mixture of relief and hope. "Thank you, Adrian. I believe in humans, and I believe in you." As night fell over Lysera, the city lights glimmered like distant stars, and Adrian realized that this mission was unlike any he had faced before. It was not just about diplomacy or trade or survival. It was about courage, ingenuity, and the unexpected strength of humans in a universe that often underestimated them. Somewhere in the shadows, the faction moved, unaware that the human they had overlooked might be their undoing, and somewhere in the light, the princess prepared to fight for her people, knowing that she was not alone this time. Adrian sat in the palace's observation chamber later that evening, staring at the same galaxy he had watched from his ship. He thought about the past, the moment he had saved a life without expecting recognition or reward. He thought about the future and the battles that lay ahead, and he felt a quiet pride, the kind that only humans could carry, the kind that reminded him that even in the vastness of space, small acts of courage could echo across stars and change destinies. The princess entered quietly, her presence gentle but undeniable. "Rest, human. Tomorrow the real work begins." Adrian nodded. He would rest, but only for a moment. He knew that when the time came, he would need every ounce of human ingenuity, courage, and heart to face the challenges ahead, and somehow he felt certain that together, he and the princess could overcome anything, even the shadows that threatened to consume Lysera. Outside, the wind of alien towers whispered of secrets, of plots, and of battles yet to come. And inside, a human and a princess prepared to remind the galaxy that courage had no species, and that even the smallest of beings could change the fate of worlds. The sun rose over Lysera, casting golden light across the crystal towers and floating platforms of the city. Captain Adrian Cole awoke early, his mind already racing with possibilities. He had spent the night thinking about the princess's words, about the faction plotting in the shadows, and about the delicate balance of Lysera's politics. Humans thrived on challenges, and Adrian had always believed that obstacles were invitations to rise above. Today the stakes were higher than ever. The princess entered the chamber, moving with the grace of someone born to command. She carried a tablet filled with maps, reports, and intelligence gathered by her most trusted agents. "Adrian, I've arranged a meeting with my advisors," she said. "We need to understand who we can trust before we act, and we need to plan carefully. The faction is clever, and they will not reveal themselves easily." Adrian studied the tablet. "I've seen something like this before," he said. "Factions hiding within a government often make the first moves at night. But humans think differently. They improvise, they adapt. That's our advantage. We can spot patterns that others overlook." The princess's eyes lit with interest. "Then you will teach me your way?" she asked. "I will teach you, yes," Adrian said, "and together we will make sure your people survive. But first, we need to identify the faction leaders. We cannot strike blindly." They arrived at the council chamber, a vast hall of crystal walls and hovering lights. Advisors and ministers of Lysara were already gathered, their expressions cautious but respectful. The princess introduced Adrian as a human strategist, one who had saved her life years ago and now offered his skills to protect Lysara once more. Some council members whispered, their skepticism obvious. Humans were known across the galaxy as brave but also reckless and unpredictable. Many had doubted that one human could influence Lysara's fate. Adrian ignored the whispers. He focused on the room, on the people, and on the information they provided. He asked questions, tested their assumptions, and noted inconsistencies. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Certain trade agreements were being manipulated, security protocols subtly weakened, and intelligence reports delayed or falsified. "I see it," Adrian said quietly. "The faction is embedded in positions that control communication and supply. They are waiting for the right moment to strike, and they believe no outsider can outsmart them. They are wrong." The princess watched him, her admiration growing. She had expected humans to be clever, but she did not expect the depth of insight Adrian displayed. "Your people are extraordinary," she said softly. Adrian gave a small smile. "We try, but observation alone will not stop them. We need action." They began training together, devising strategies that combined Lysara's advanced technology with human improvisation. Adrian taught the princess how to anticipate enemy moves, how to create diversions, and how to use unexpected solutions to counter superior forces. The princess learned quickly, her intelligence and courage making her an exceptional student. Meanwhile, the faction was making its own moves. Agents infiltrated markets, controlled data streams, and spread misinformation among Lysara's citizens. They believed they were invisible, untouchable, but Adrian's human perspective allowed him to see beyond their assumptions. He noticed small details, a misaligned patrol pattern, a door left unlocked, a communication anomaly that revealed the faction's hidden operations. One night, Adrian and the princess ventured outside the palace under the cover of darkness. They moved silently through the city, observing suspicious activity and identifying key operatives. The streets were quiet, but the sense of danger was palpable. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every whisper could be a clue. "This is incredible," the princess whispered. "You see things that no one else notices," Adrian nodded. "Humans survive by noticing what others overlook. Adaptation is our strength. Observation is the first step. Action is the second. And when you combine the two, you become unstoppable." They discovered a secret meeting where the faction planned to seize control of a critical energy hub. The hub powered much of the city, and controlling it would give them leverage over Lysara's defenses and citizens. Adrian knew that preventing the takeover required both strategy and daring. The next day, they prepared for action. Adrian and the princess coordinated with loyal forces, ensuring they had the element of surprise. The plan was risky. Too many variables, too many unknowns, but it relied on human ingenuity and Lysara's advanced technology. They moved quickly, using diversion tactics, misdirection, and clever traps to isolate the faction's leaders. As they approached the hub, alarms blared. The faction had discovered their movements and activated defensive measures. Energy barriers, automated drones, and security protocols challenged them at every turn. But Adrian remained calm. He guided the princess and their forces with precision, exploiting weaknesses in the defenses that only a human mind could identify. The first confrontation was tense. Faction agents attempted to breach their path, confident in their superiority. Adrian led the human-inspired tactics, unpredictable maneuvers, feints, and calculated risks that allowed them to neutralize the agents without unnecessary loss. The princess observed closely, learning how to blend strategy with courage, how to act decisively under pressure. They reached the control center just as the faction's leaders tried to seize it. Adrian and the princess coordinated a bold move. Using a combination of Lysera's technology and human improvisation, they trapped the leaders inside a containment field, cutting off their access to the hub. The city's systems were secured and the faction's plan was foiled before it could be executed. The victory was small but significant. News of the thwarted takeover spread quickly, bolstering the morale of Lysera's citizens and loyal forces. The princess addressed her people, acknowledging the human who had helped save them once again. Adrian stood beside her, feeling the weight of recognition he had rarely experienced. Humans were often underestimated, but here, his courage, intuition, and ingenuity had made a tangible difference. The princess turned to him privately. "You were right, Adrian. Humans think differently. And that difference, it saved us," Adrian smiled. "I told you. We adapt, we improvise, and we act. That's what makes humans strong. And I'm glad I could help you, princess. But the danger isn't over. The faction may have lost this battle, but they are still out there." Days passed and the city slowly returned to normal. Yet tension lingered. Adrian and the princess continued to train, to plan, and to anticipate the faction's next move. The bond between them deepened, trust forged in danger, mutual respect growing into a quiet friendship, and perhaps something more. One evening, as they studied intelligence reports, a sudden alarm signaled an intruder in the palace. Adrian and the princess moved immediately, knowing that the faction would strike where they felt most vulnerable. They found a team of operatives attempting to disable the palace's defenses from within. The battle was chaotic, the intruders skilled and ruthless, but Adrian's human ingenuity once again turned the tide. Using improvised tactics, quick thinking, and a willingness to take calculated risks, he neutralized the threat and secured the palace. The princess watched, a mix of admiration and awe in her eyes. "You are extraordinary, Adrian. Humans truly are remarkable." Adrian shook his head. "It's not me. It's all humans. We survive, we adapt, and we never give up. That's why we matter. That's why we make a difference." The incident reminded them that the faction would not give up. They would continue to strike, using deception, sabotage, and infiltration. Adrian knew that the ultimate confrontation was coming, and it would test everything they had learned. But he also knew that humans could rise to any challenge, no matter how daunting. In the following days, Adrian and the princess coordinated efforts to secure key locations, train loyal forces, and identify hidden threats. They discovered a network of spies, agents embedded in the city, and secret caches of weapons. Each discovery was a step closer to victory, but also a reminder of the stakes. The faction's reach was vast and their ambition dangerous. One night, as Adrian reviewed maps and reports in the observation chamber, the princess joined him. "We have come far," she said softly. "But I fear the worst is yet to come." Adrian nodded. "The worst is coming. But we are ready. Humans face impossible odds every day, and we survive. Together we can face anything. You have courage, strategy, and heart. I have, well, human intuition. That combination is powerful," she smiled. "Then we face it together." As the twin moons rose over Lysera, their light reflecting off the crystal towers, Adrian felt a sense of anticipation. The faction would strike again, and when they did, humans and Lyserans would be ready. The princess and her people would see firsthand that courage, ingenuity, and determination were not limited by species. And somewhere in the shadows the faction plotted, unaware that the human they had underestimated might become the key to their downfall. Adrian's mind raced with possibilities, strategies, and contingencies. Every plan, every move, every calculated risk brought them closer to victory. He thought about the moment he had saved the princess years ago, and now, as he prepared to stand beside her once more, he understood that history had a way of repeating itself, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Humans, small but fearless, could change the fate of worlds. The night was quiet over Lysera, but silence rarely meant safety. Captain Adrian Cole stood at the edge of the palace balcony, staring down at the glowing city below. The crystal towers reflected the moonlight, shimmering like countless stars caught in a web of light. Somewhere among those towers and platforms the faction was moving, preparing for their final strike. Adrian's human instincts told him this would be unlike anything he had faced before, but he also knew that humans thrived in impossible situations. The princess joined him quietly, her presence calm but commanding. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, learning from Adrian's strategies, observing his decisions, and growing more confident with every step. "Adrian," she said softly, "tonight we face them." "There is no turning back?" Adrian nodded. "I know, but we are ready. Humans survive the impossible every day, and tonight we'll show them why." Inside the palace, loyal Lysaran forces readied themselves. Shields were strengthened, weapons positioned, and communication lines secured. Adrian moved among them, sharing plans and adjusting strategies based on the information they had gathered. He pointed out weaknesses, suggested diversions, and reminded the Lysarans that unpredictability was their ally. The faction had never faced humans directly in Lysara before. They had underestimated them, believing that alien intelligence would always prevail. They were about to learn differently. As the first signs of the faction appeared on the perimeter, Adrian observed the patrols. Small drones and scouts moved toward the palace, confident that the loyalists were unaware. But Adrian had anticipated this. He directed the palace defenders to create subtle diversions, lights flickering, false patrol patterns, and simulated weaknesses. The faction fell into the traps, revealing key leaders and critical operatives. The princess watched closely, her heart racing but her mind clear. "You think like a human," she said quietly. "I can see why my people never expected such tactics." Adrian smiled. "We adapt, we improvise, and we act. That's how humans survive. And tonight, that will make the difference." The first wave of attackers reached the palace gates. They were met with coordinated force, combining Lysara's advanced energy shields and Adrian's unpredictable human maneuvers. Faction operatives tried to hack the palace systems, but Adrian had anticipated their every move. He directed the defenders to allow certain breaches, then trapped them within containment fields. Human improvisation and Lysaran technology worked together seamlessly, creating a defense that the faction had never seen. Despite their superior numbers, the faction began to falter. Adrian noticed hesitation in their ranks, confusion and frustration as their plans failed. Every move they made was countered by human creativity and adaptability. The princess directed her forces with newfound confidence, inspired by Adrian's leadership. Together they turned defense into offense. Adrian led a small strike team through secret passages of the palace, aiming to confront the faction leaders directly. Moving silently, they avoided traps and patrols, using strategy, observation, and timing. Humans often thrived in situations where raw strength alone could not succeed, and this was such a moment. They reached the central chamber where the faction leaders were attempting to gain control of the palace's command systems. Adrian signaled to his team, and with coordinated precision they engaged. The faction leaders were caught off guard by the human tactics, quick, unpredictable, and daring. One by one they were incapacitated or trapped. Human ingenuity combined with Lysara's technology was unstoppable. The princess arrived just as the final leader tried to escape. She blocked the path, her authority absolute, while Adrian used a clever maneuver to disable the remaining security measures. Together they cornered the leader, neutralizing the threat once and for all. The palace was safe. Breathing heavily, Adrian looked around at the victorious defenders. "Humans do not rely on brute force alone," he said. "We rely on thinking, adapting, and acting when it matters most. That is why we survive." The princess smiled at him, pride shining in her eyes. "And that is why I trusted you, Adrian. Your courage and mind have saved my people once more. Humanity is remarkable indeed." News of the victory spread quickly through the city. Citizens came out to see the palace lights, celebrating the survival of their planet. The faction had been defeated, their networks dismantled, and their influence eradicated. Lysara's people realized that the combined strength of humans and Lysarans had protected them from what seemed impossible. Adrian walked through the city with the princess, observing the grateful citizens and loyal forces. "I never expected such a response," he admitted. "Humans often do small things quietly, but when faced with a challenge, we rise." The princess looked at him thoughtfully. "You saved me once before, and now you have saved my people. Your bravery, your mind, and your heart, they have changed Lysara forever." Adrian shook his head. "Not me alone. Humans work with others, we inspire, and we adapt. Your people fought bravely too. It is the combination that made the difference." As the celebration continued, Adrian reflected on everything that had happened. He thought of the first moment he met the princess, of the distant memory of saving her life and of the bond that had grown between them. He realized that humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, but their greatest strength lay in their courage, ingenuity, and compassion. Later, in the palace observation chamber, the princess stood beside him watching the city lights. "You have reminded me, Adrian, that courage has no species," she said. "Humans are not just survivors, they are leaders, innovators, and heroes." Adrian smiled. "We survive because we care, because we think, and because we refuse to give up. And sometimes, that makes all the difference in the universe." The princess nodded, her gaze distant for a moment. "The galaxy will remember this day and your role in it. Lysara will thrive because of your actions. But more than that, I will remember the human who never gave up, who always found a way, who protected life when it mattered most." Adrian felt a quiet pride. Recognition was rare for humans, and yet here it was, not just from the princess, but from an entire planet. He understood that the universe often underestimated humans, but that very underestimation was a gift. It allowed them to surprise, to overcome, and to shine when it mattered most. The princess placed her hand on his shoulder. "Rest now, Adrian. Tomorrow Lysara will be free and your work here will be remembered. But tonight we celebrate. You have earned it." Adrian nodded. He would rest briefly, but he knew the galaxy was vast, filled with challenges and dangers yet to come. Humans had survived before, and they would survive again. They had proven that heart, mind, and courage were more powerful than any weapon or technology. Outside, the stars glimmered over Lysara, and for the first time in many cycles, the city felt safe. Humans had stood beside the princess, fought alongside her people, and shown that even in a universe of advanced civilizations and complex politics, one human could make an extraordinary difference. The princess smiled at him again, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "I will never forget you, Adrian. Not your courage, not your mind, and certainly not your heart. You are the human who changed my world." Adrian looked out at the horizon, feeling the weight of his journey and the promise of the future. "And I will never forget this, princess. Lysara, its people, and the bond we share, it will stay with me always." The night passed peacefully. Dawn broke over Lysara, painting the city in shades of gold and silver. The citizens began their day, aware that they had survived a great danger, and that humans far from their homeworld had played a crucial role in protecting them. Adrian and the princess stood together one last time before he returned to his ship. "I am honored to have served with you," he said. "And I am honored to have learned from you," the princess replied. "Humans are extraordinary, Adrian. Remember that always." He nodded. As he boarded his ship, Adrian glanced back at the palace, the city, and the people he had helped protect. Humanity had once again proven itself, not through numbers or weapons, but through courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. The engines roared to life and the ship lifted into the sky. Adrian looked out at the stars, knowing that the galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges, but that humans would continue to rise, adapt, and make a difference wherever they went. And somewhere across the universe, a princess remembered the human who saved her life twice, who showed her people the true strength of humanity, and who proved that even in the darkest of times, courage and ingenuity could light the way. The galaxy was safer for Lysara, and humanity's reputation had grown. The story of Captain Adrian Cole and Princess Lysara would be told for cycles, a tale of courage, unity, and the extraordinary potential of humans in a vast, complex universe. And somewhere deep in the stars, Adrian knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had more to offer, more battles to face, and more worlds to change. But for now, Lysara was safe, its people free, and the bond between human and alien stronger than ever.